Hello there and welcome to my channel Novice Modelling in the Midlife Crisis. My name is Andy and today I'm going to be reviewing the 36 or so kits that I've built in my first 6 months as a YouTuber. I'm going to be doing these in no particular order, and I've basically got 4 of these white plastic boards loaded with stuff that I'm going to show you. The first lot is basically a load of sort of D-Day orientated kits that I built towards the end of May or early June to commemorate D-Day. The main kit you can see in the background here is Airfix's 60th anniversary set, which comes with all the vehicles on this side and a bunch of these uncompleted figures. Obviously the figures haven't been completed and they're waiting for D-Day next year to come up with some idea as to what we're actually going to do with them. The first kit that we can see here is the rather famous gun emplacement with its movable guns. We also have a DUKW, which we built, and I'm quite happy with how that one turned out. We have a LCV Mark III, which is a landing craft. Incidentally, I've left all of the loading ramps off my landing craft because I'm not quite sure how I'm eventually going to display them. We have the first of our LCVP landing craft. This one I believe is actually a Hella kit, because a lot of these kits are actually Hella sort of D-Day collaborations. We have a Mark I Sherman, which was kind of a basic kit, not exactly interesting. Which we have here. We have this GMC CCKW truck, which I'm reasonably happy with how this one came out. It looks kind of okay. I kind of apologise for the lighting. The lighting's not great in here and it's about 8 o'clock, so, but this is the time that I have to do this in. We have a 88mm anti-tank gun, which was painted in a rather sort of experimental camo scheme that I just devised with a sponge. We have a Willys Jeep with trailer and heavy weapon support with a movable up and down windshield and a US flag in the front. We have this BF 109, which, yeah, shouldn't have a yellow nose. Again, I'm just sort of playing around with colours and learning basic techniques at the end of the day. This was a rather nasty sort of snap and fit kit. We've got some really bad clouding on the cockpit cover here, which is fair enough. I mean, it wasn't a great kit to build on. It just got built as I could. Next up, we're moving on to this kit, which is a Airfix 172 Sherman Flyer Firefly, which is done out in a Polish regiment. This was painted with the supplied colours that came out quite well. I'm quite happy with this one. This was actually my first 172 armour build that I did. Next on, we have Academy 172 Ground Vehicle Series 6, which came with this rather nice 4x4 Jeep amphibian, which again, I'm quite happy with that, how that came out. Strangely though, it came with no actual glazing. We've got a M3 half-track with heavy weapon support. Again, quite happy with how this one came out. Kind of nice looking vehicle. And last but not least, out of this one, we have a rather tiny and fiddly Harley-Davidson motorcycle, which again, I'm quite happy with how that came out because it was kind of easy to put together, I suppose, because there wasn't that many parts, but it was very fiddly. Next up, we're moving on to the Airfix 172 D-Day Assault set, which came with 2 of these LCVP landing craft. These are slightly better in quality than this one, which was a sort of like 70s or 80s Hella. These were quite nice to put together, I seem to recall, and they came out okay. So we got 2 of those. We get this paratroop gun, which I think is 75mm, although I might be wrong, I'm not quite sure. Again, very easy to put together. It was literally 4 or 5 or maybe 6 different parts, including the wheels. And we got another Jeep and trailer to complete that particular set, which came with some extra sort of stowage equipment as well. Now you're going to have to excuse me for a second because I'm going to have to move this white tray out the way without spilling stuff all over the place and busting them up. I'll be back in a minute with another one. Incidentally, there is a playlist for the D-Day set that I have, which, because I built them over the space of about a week, so I'll put a link in the description box at the bottom of the video, where if you wanted to, you can go and have a look at the build and what's in the box series for those particular models. Now, this particular one is another series that I called Land of the Rising Sun Week, where I set myself the task of building 10 Japanese kits in 10 days. I failed miserably. I did actually build all the kits, but actually painting them all and getting them all decaled up was way too much than I could imagine to deal with. So the first one, again in no particular order, and there is a link in the description bar to the series for these that I actually did, is our Tamiya 172 Kawasaki KI61ID Hein, which came out like this, which I was really happy with. Unfortunately, the cockpit cover broke and I never got around to actually painting it. But the actual finish of the paintwork was, I was really happy with, and it came out quite well, I think. Next up, we did this Kawanishi N1K1JA Shiden Type 11, which came out like this. Again, I was pretty happy with how this one turned out, considering I was drinking sake and Japanese lager at the time and eating Japanese treats. Again, I do apologise about the lighting, but it's about the best I can manage in this large space. So that's how that one came out. Again, pretty happy with that one. Next up, we have this Aichi M6A1 Siran, which was an experimental float plane, which was designed for the express intention of bombing the Panama Canal from a series of aeroplane carrying submarines that the Japanese had. Again, I'm pretty happy with how that one came out, although the cockpit cover is a little bit of a mess, but this is what happens when you're a novice at the end of the day. You have to accept that some parts of your models are going to turn out okay, and some of them, kind of don't. So next up, we've got this AZ model Yokosuka D4Y1-1C Judy, which is a 2-seat dive bomber. Again, I'm pretty happy with how this one came out. The paint on went quite well. It was the first time I've built an AZ model kit. I've actually got a load of AZ model kits based on how kind of nice this went together and how kind of nice it actually looks. So there'll be more of them coming on this channel in the future. Next up, we have this KI-27B Japanese Army fighter. I forget the actual allied code name for it. I think it might be a Jake. I had a bit of a struggle with this one, I've got to be honest with you. And the painting on this, which is actually based on another scheme, which is on the instruction book, I think I called it dark green and baby poop. The actual putting together, I did struggle, and as you can see here, my engine is kind of, well, it's a bit of a mess at the end of the day, but the painting came out quite well for something that I did hand painted on this one. A lot of these other ones are done using my airbrush, of which I'm a complete novice at as well. So, I mean, painting wise, it looks okay, but the actual construction of it was a bit of a nightmare, and I'm putting that down largely down to my inexperience. Next up, we have a RS model Kawanishi E15K1 Cheyenne, which is a float plane, which comes with this trolley for the underneath. Again, I had a couple of struggles with this one, with these floats, which are supposed to be sort of retractable, and the mechanism just broke in my fingers, basically. Again, as far as RS models, a lot of people might not be very familiar with this particular brand. This went together, in my opinion, pretty well. And apart from my kind of problems that I am struggling with these cockpit covers, I think it went together quite well, and it kind of looks quite nice at the end of the day. And based on this experience with RS models, I have again been and bought a load of RS model kits because some of them are quite interesting and basically a slightly more that gives you a slightly more diverse range in your kit stash, as opposed to just picking up sort of regular Tamiya's and Airfixes. Next up, we have the first time I actually tried a 2-engine aircraft. This is a Hobby 2000 Nakajima J1N1S Gecko from 1945. This one, apart from an issue that I had at the back here, where I forgot to put this piece on because I thought it was a glazed piece, this one I'm really happy with. It came out pretty well, I think. It's got an all-over sort of dark green colouring to it, which is kind of unusual for Japanese aircraft, which were normally in this slightly brighter green. And again, I really enjoyed building this one, and it kind of took away my slight fear of building things that are slightly bigger than sort of your regular sort of single-engine aircraft. So I'm really chuffed with that one. Came out quite well. Next up, we moved to some rather vintage Tamiya Japanese kits, which were from 1970 or thereabouts. First up, we got this Mitsubishi J2M3 Jack. Again, this one came out, in my opinion, quite well, although due to the age of the decals, a lot of the decals were spoiled, and I had to basically pinch the red roundels from a bunch of other kits. Otherwise, though, I'm quite happy with how this one came out. Again, paint-wise, it's pretty good, I think, for a novice like myself. Again, I apologise about the lighting. So that's that one. This one was a bit of a nightmare. This is again 1970 Tamiya Nakajima Ki-44 Tojo. This looks really cool on the box art. I had to hand paint this one, basically because my airbrush failed the day that I built it. I had to order a new one in for next day delivery. The paint went on really, really thick, and I think it was the first time I'd actually done a aluminium finish. And I'm not really very happy with how this one came out, but at the end of the day, it got finished and it looks kind of okay, I suppose. And then we did our Shinden, again, 1970s Tamiya. Whoops. This is the Experimental Interceptor. Got it the wrong way round, which is a push propeller. This is a really cool looking kit, although I wouldn't particularly advise people going and buying these vintage Tamiyas because they are kind of basic. I've actually lost a piece here. And you can actually get, I think it's a Hasegawa version of this, which I'm kind of reckoning is a lot better because I think it's like a 1980s or 1990s kit, so it's going to be a lot better detailed. So I'm just going to move this tray out of the way and we'll bring in some more. Well, we've got 2 more to go. Sorry, we're taking 12 minutes. This set we have here, this is basically an accumulation of the first, let's try and get that bit better, the first aircraft that I built. I called these basically my dirty dozen, as they were a bunch of cheap sort of vintage sort of Spitfires that cost around about sort of roughly about £10 each on average. I built these basically because I was learning. I needed some kits just to practice on, and I largely have treated these as sort of painting mules. A lot of these I haven't finished because the quality of the build is not very good. But a lot of these are actually built within 15 to 20 minutes, sort of as a 15 to 20 minute build video. So I wasn't expecting any great things out of these. And again, a lot of these I'm still kind of playing around with for kind of experimental purposes and kind of trying to learn some new techniques and provide some sort of amusement to you guys on YouTube. So we'll start off with this one. Again, these are done in no particular order. This is a Testors F22 Spitfire. I actually built this one in 1 minute and 35 seconds because it's an incredibly easy kit to build, and it's probably only around about 12 pieces to stick together. This one's nearly finished. It just needs a final layer of gloss coating on it. I think this one's done in. I'm pretty happy with how it came out at the end of the day. I mean, if you can throw a kit together in 1 minute 35 seconds and it kind of looks reasonable like this, then great. It doesn't have any undercarriage on it. It is basically a wheels up kit only. This one is a snap and glue Airfix from about 1980. This one took a tumble off the desk and has lost its propeller. Again, it's not finished. It's not done to any sort of great standard. Again, it's a painting mule that will be used at some point in the future for practicing, possibly weathering and stuff like that, because I haven't even tried weathering. I've only just started glossing these kits up, sort of varnishing the kits up. Next up, we've got a Pioneer 2 Spitfire 5C Tropical. These are pretty nasty kits, I've got to be quite honest with you. But it was a tenner, and it's come out okay, to be honest with you. I mean, again, the painting is not great. This is hand painted, and again, it's kind of just something to play around with when I'm sort of not doing anything. As you can see, it's got a really strange sort of configuration here where the undercarriage is up, but there is no actual sort of bay for the undercarriage to retract into. It's kind of a weird one, but these are actually made in Turkey. Next up, we have this one, which I kind of like, which is a Hawk. I think this is 1967 or thereabouts, Mark 22 Spitfire. And incidentally, the testers, which looks incredibly similar, is actually a reboxing from 1970 odd of this Hawk kit. This one's done in a gloss-on-gloss finish and is really, really shiny. Again, it still needs its cockpit cover putting on. But this is part of an experiment I'm doing where I'm just trying out different varnishes on kits just to see what they look like. And gloss-on-gloss kind of looks shiny and doesn't really work in my opinion. Next off, we've got a KP Vickers Spitfire Mark 9 in check colours. Again, not finished, haven't painted it, aerial's broken, have some problems with the wheels. It's got the clip wings and it'll get to finish at some point. Again, probably for sort of practice painting or something like that. Next up, we've got a Supermarine Spitfire Mark 1 by Hella. Again, not finished. It's not really that great. Kind of waiting for some TLC. I'll get that done eventually. This one is a Hasegawa Mark 1. This was a really nice kit. I think this is about 1980 or 84. It's got the two-bladed propeller, which is, I've actually painted this already up in a brown finish. I'm going to try and do this one quite nicely. I'm going to do the split white and black underneath on this one. I'm actually probably intending to do this one at some point pretty shortly. This one I had a lot of fun with. This is a New Zealand kit, Ventura Mark 22 Spitfire, which I did my first Is This the Worst model kit ever, and got quite rightly sort of lambasted by a load of guys that think that Ventura kits are awesome. I've kind of actually bought another 6 Ventura Spitfires on the basis of this kit because they are actually kind of a little bit special if you take away the almost awfulness of their construction. This was kind of a joke when I built this at the end of the day. I just threw this together in very quickly. And these kits, if anybody knows anything about Ventura kits, they're really difficult to build and they require a lot. And when I say a lot of attention, yeah, they require a lot of attention. If you went in to have a look at the build or the what's in the box for this, and you never heard of Venturas, you'd kind of understand why it looks so god awful at the end of the day, because you literally have to sand out a chunk of plastic from in these wings. Next up, we've got this Encore, which is a US kit supplier. Again, this was about 10 quid. It's not finished. The interesting thing with this particular kit was it actually comes with some Portuguese markings, which I found quite cool. This one is a PM plastic model Supermarine Spitfire Mark 5B. Interesting because it's done in Turkish colours, and we've got an FW190 in the background in Turkish colours. Again, these are not good kits to build. Well, they're not good kits to build, but they're just not very detailed and very basic and nasty. It's actually the same kit as this Pioneer over here. Based on that, with the FW190 in the background, I actually bought this Hasegawa Focke-Wulf, which came to me decal-less. And I've almost finished this one, basically, and I've done this to go with the PM model as a Turkish marked Spitfire. I think I'm going to change this lower section of it to pale blue. This is a Matchbox Spitfire Mark 9. Again, not finished. Going to do something with it. It tumbled off the desk at some point, and we broke both the wheels and the propeller on this one. I kind of like this one. It's kind of weird, but it's everybody seems to hate these Mr. kits. I didn't know anything about them. Basically, they're just sort of Reeboks kits, and it's a Reeboks basically of a Hella from I think the 70s or the 80s. And first off, Smur did a reboxing of it, and then Mr. got hold of the moulding. I kind of enjoyed making this one because what I actually did to produce that is I used half the parts from this kit and half the parts from this kit and built this and called it a Frankenstein's monster. Went together okay. I'm pretty happy with it. It was kind of interesting at the time. This particular one is a standard Airfix Mark V. This was actually the very first kit that I built, and I hand painted it, and it came out pretty okay, I think. I mean, I didn't do the interior or the cockpit, but the actual painting of it was just hand painted. Actually, I thought that was pretty good. Next off, we've got this BF109 by Airfix. Again, a kit that comes with all the paints and what have you. Again, didn't do the interior of the cockpit. Just sort of put this one together as quickly as possible and painted it in semi-correct colourings. But at the end of the day, what I'm doing with some of these is I just painted them sort of off the top of my head, as I would have done when I was a kid. This particular kit, well, this is a Starfix North American P51D Mustang. I forgot to bring my prop down, which was my Black & Decker floor sander, because this one had some rather nasty imperfections on the wing. And for a bit of a laugh, I decided to attack them with the sander instead of your regular rubbing sticks. This was just a bit of a joke to put together at the end of the day. The undercarriage pretty much just broke, and I've done a terrible job of filling it in. This is, I've used this for an experimental sort of finish, as I've tried matte varnish on this wing, satin varnish down the centre, and gloss varnish on this wing, just to see basically what an aluminium coloured plane would look like in the different varnishes. It's literally a throwaway kit, and yeah, well, whatever. The last tray is coming up now, if you manage to stick with me for 21 minutes. Thanks very much if you have. What we have here is basically probably some of the most recent kits that I've built. And we have this Airfix BF110C, which again, I really enjoyed building as a sort of like, I think this was the third 2-engine aircraft that I built. Came out really well, I think, for my skills as a novice. Don't really like the silvering on some of these extra decals that it's got here, but I was really happy with how this one came out, and it's a plane that I actually kind of really like. We have a Lockheed P-38 J-M Lightning. This one had some issues when I originally painted it, as I was going to I think I was going to hand paint this, and then the paint came out really badly, so I actually stripped the paint off and started over and airbrushed it. This one came out, again, in my opinion, pretty well. It's not really correctly set up with the rockets and the bombs. I think it should just be either or, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to go with your imagination on these things, don't you? This particular kit is a charity shop buy for £4. It's another Supermarine Spitfire Mark 5C by Airfix. I don't actually have this kit in my possession anymore. I built it for a birthday gift for a mate at work, and I painted it in red, white and black in the colours of Manchester United, a team that I absolutely hate, but the guy who got this is a bit of a mad case Man United supporter, so he really appreciated it, and I had a lot of fun building it. I learned some interesting things about painting in different colours and putting stripes on stuff and whatever. This particular one is a Matchbox vintage USS Indianapolis, the aircraft that dropped off the atomic weapon Titinian to that eventually went in the Enola Gay, which is this is partly done as. This is part of a series that I'm currently doing at the moment. So we've got the atomic weapon delivery device to Tinian. We've got the atomic weapon delivery device to Japan. And there's another kit that I'm going to start building in a month, which kind of ends this series. So obviously it's something to do that happens in the next couple of weeks. This was the first ship that I built since I was about 12. I really enjoyed building this, especially when you look at the popular culture to do with Jaws and the famous scene on that about the issues with the survivors being attacked by sharks, basically. Quite a morbid and sad story, but interesting historically. So we built that one about a month or so ago to coincide exactly with the day that the ship sank. This particular one obviously is the famous B-29 Super Fortress. and I built this one. I intended to complete this for the dropping of the Hiroshima bomb, but it was a lot more than I'm used to, being such a large kit, and I ended up building it for completing it for the Nagasaki raid. It's actually decaled up differently on either side. I've got a Enola Gay on one side, and I've got Boxcar with its relevant decals on the other side, sort of to represent the fact that I wanted to build it as that, but I ended up finishing it when that happened. So I thought it would be kind of neat to do it in both. I had a few problems with this because, again, it's such a large kit and it's kind of more complicated than I'm used to. Again, there's a sort of four or five video build and what's in the box series for that if you want to have a look at it. And last but not least, I'm starting to have a go at some 135 armour kits. This is my Tamiya Panther. What number is that one? It's the earlier one anyway, from the 1970s, 60s or 70s, which was originally a motorised version. I've got the basic build done for this, and it's been primed, and tomorrow, hopefully, we're going to start putting some proper paint on it, and we might try and get it finished over, or nearly finished over the next couple of days. Again, it's the first 135 kit that I've built in 20 years, this one. And yes, I know, I've put the barrel in the wrong way. Yeah, we might actually try and sort that out. So that basically rounds up our 26-minute video. Thanks for staying with me if you stayed with me this long, about all the kits that I've built in the last 6 months. I do actually have a kit stash now of somewhere around 400 kits. I've gone to town on buying kits at the end of the day. I've found a real sort of passion for building models over the past 6 months that I've been doing this. And I do hope to sort of increase both the kit building output and the variety of things that I'm doing. Obviously, I've started on aircraft because I kind of, rightly or wrongly, deemed aircraft to be a little bit less complicated than, well, certainly less expensive than playing around with these 135 armour kits, which can go be, you're starting sort of for a decent one about 30 quid, whereas something like that you can pick up for 4, or 20 or 12.99. So for me, these are ideal sort of kits to sort of start with, in my opinion, and then hoping to sort of graduate onto some of these and some more interesting and complicated aircraft. So thanks again for watching. Like I say, there will be more videos coming up very shortly to kind of say, hey, I've been here for 6 months. Look at what I've been doing. It's not great, but it's kind of interesting maybe. So please do like and subscribe, and please do have a look in the description box at the bottom below this video, and I'll drop a few links to some of the sort of builds that are relevant to what I've just shown you. So be seeing you, and cheers. I'm rather thirsty now.